Francis Smiled, by Tyrone G. Sawyer, copyright 2026, Part 1. Francis Farquharson cracked a smile, not a smile of victory, a smile of relief, a smile of redemption, and a smile of sudden recognition. Her face felt like a multi-purpose shield. Finally, she thought, there's a future for me, free from burdens, from lies and recrimination. That was the visible part. The invisible emotional part was harder to process. But there was hope. Francis's underlying strength was her fortitude and her faith, which guided her through the ups and downs and the seesaws of life. She held firm. Though buffeted, she was seaworthy. Like a schooner built by a skilled and trusted boat builder, which successfully navigated a flash storm in the tempestuous hole in the wall passage off Abaco, facing 25-knot northeast wind gusts and unruly 30-foot seas. Francis Farquharson was free. She could taste it. But freedom for her was new and elusive. She had given herself, fully and with unyielding fidelity, to Peter Farquharson, the man of her dreams, for the past 20 years. No questions asked. All in. Now, she needed to recalibrate, to learn to put herself first, to discard what she had been so well taught, to believe that she was at fault when her marriage was compromised in any way, that asking, why, was to not only to misunderstand, but to abdicate her role as the supportive wife. It was almost laughable in retrospect. She had learned that lesson so well. She looked at her old self, and she saw a pitiful sight. So effective and so quietly audacious it had been. The domination, the manipulation, and the mental abuse by her husband. She had to admit, though, that nobody forced her. She had willingly entered that culture, which had been passed down from generation to generation. It looked like acceptance, but it revealed itself as control. Francis understood that now. Her husband was comfortable, with good reason. He had merely implemented in their marriage what he had seen in his own parents' marriage. Francis asked herself, "Why are you complaining now?" She felt a delayed dose of shame, which caused her to question her own judgment. She had made herself small so that her husband could feel big. She had been complicit from the beginning, which itself was tragic. But she realized that his need for her to be small in the marriage was the real tragedy. That realization was unsettling. Some of her long-repressed tears began to fall. Tears of rage and tears of sadness meandered down her face. Together, undistinguished from each other. She did not wipe them away. She wanted them to be seen. She needed to feel catharsis. Francis grieved the loss of her marriage. She grieved for the dreams that she had cradled with such gentleness and care. Dreams which had died a sudden death, just like that, bookmarked between a smile and a sigh. In truth, there were wonderful experiences when she and Peter had deepened their bond, which could not be taken away or diminished. Like the time he flew up from Nassau when she was attending the College of William and Mary, to see her perform at the Colonial Athletic Association track meet at the University of Virginia in Charlottesville, where she handily won the 100 meters and the 200 meters. And afterward, Peter's consideration in taking a 3-hour drive so that she could enjoy dinner at Waterman's Surfside Grill in Newport News, and then driving further up as 64 to Norfolk to see the military vessels in the harbour. Like the birth of their children, John Ephraim and Jacqueline Calliope. Like the times when Peter had leaned on her, in desperation, to rescue the company when failure seemed certain. Those were times when she felt most needed by him. Times when she felt closest to him. She remembered distinctly the latest incident, when she put guardrails in place to narrow access to company accounts, to stop the siphoning of cash, when she eliminated phantom accounts used by Peter's father, Stephen, for years to fund his outside activity, something that she never connected to Peter. Such was her level of trust in him. In the ashes of her marriage, Frances felt surreal. She watched the story unfold as if she were remotely watching someone else's story. The judge banged the gavel and granted the final divorce decree. She was given primary custody of their underage daughter, Jacqueline Calliope. She received the family home and 50% of shared marital assets. It was more than fair as far as she was concerned, because she had not filed for divorce to enrich herself, or to get access to her husband's substantial wealth. She just needed a clean break from Peter Farquharson. She was more concerned about pulling herself out of a quagmire of her own choosing, about establishing boundaries that her son and daughter would see and appreciate, and hopefully emulate. What her husband had done was unforgivable. Even while succumbing to a quiet display of visible emotion at the courthouse, Frances held on to her dignity and wore it like a breastplate. She held her shoulders back like the elite athlete that she was. She held her head up with her chin erect. Professor Carmen Jefferson, her drama teacher, would have been proud of her. This thought brought a smile to her face. Remembering the acting career that Professor Jefferson felt was hers for the taking. She clasped her hands together in her lap, holding a small hanky, to anchor herself in the present. She was still statuesque, still beautiful. Those were some of the thoughts that she contemplated in that sterile, impersonal, nondescript courtroom with slightly peeling paint of an off-white yellow hue. Frances's life, to the casual observer, was a good life. She had married well. She could have done no better than to snag a catch such as Peter Farquharson, the scion of a wealthy established family. They met at Bethel Academy High School when she went to Nassau from Cat Island on a scholarship in 1993. She had to smile as she remembered how proud her parents were. She and Peter moved in different circles during school, but they bonded more closely as members of the youth group at Our Lady's Catholic Church, DeVoe Street, Nassau. They formed a deeper spiritual connection, which made her feel more confident that she could build a life with him, a life firmly grounded in faith. Frances was determined to hold out until she finished her degree at the College of William and Mary, Williamsburg, Virginia. She stressed to Peter that she wanted to save herself for him, to maintain her virginity until they were married. He respected her position, but he struggled with it, which caused great friction. During their moments of intimacy as he kissed her and gently caressed her body in private places, she came so close to giving in that she thought she would climb a wall. Such was her desire. Such was her love for Peter Farquharson. The pressure that he placed on her was too much, which caused her to break up with him. During that period, Peter dated other women, and along the way, he fathered a child. Frances was deeply hurt. Although she decided to let him go, she did not believe for one moment that he would find someone else so soon. She wondered whether she was asking too much, of him, of herself. She knew that she was in the minority in feeling the way she felt, but she was immovable in her belief that fidelity was worth fighting for. She tried her best to understand and adapt without giving up her virtue. It was a lonely place for her to be. Peter was widely pursued by other young women. She had seen many brazen attempts by women to snag him right in her presence. Her friend, Ethel Cambridge, encouraged her. Ethel said, "Yes, he made a mistake. But is that worth throwing everything away for? He will love you and care for you. But do not try to make him into a saint." Frances pondered those words and found merit in them, which helped her to soothe her doubts and fears. Peter wooed her relentlessly, although she decided to move on without him. He was persistent. He begged her to get back together with him. But something was still nagging at her. She felt that if he went with other women before, there was nothing to prevent him from doing so again. "Frances, I love you," he pleaded with tears in his eyes. She had never seen him so vulnerable. "Peter, I love you too. That's what scares me most." She held his face gently with her hands, as if framing his face with her fingers would change the contours of her misgivings. "I could not bear the thought of you with another woman while being married to me," she admitted, revealing her deepest fear. "My daddy did that. Your daddy did that. And our mothers let them." It was a breaking point for Frances. "I want something different for my life," she resolved, with a trembling voice grounded in certainty. "My darling, I would never betray you in that way," he promised. "I choose you only, over everybody else. Please give us a chance," he begged. He said it almost poetically. Frances looked into his eyes, and she believed him. She believed him because she wanted to believe him. She nodded and relented. They embraced so tightly, Frances thought that she would suffocate from the submerged emotion. The first decision she made was to let his outside son, who he fathered during one of their breakups, have full access to him. She wanted him to have honesty and transparency as a part of his life, for himself and the child. Frances Hepburn, the first daughter to Fletcher and Paula Hepburn of the Cove, Cat Island, Bahamas, married Peter Farquharson, first son and scion of the prestigious, famous Farquharson family, who traced their roots back to Acklins Island in the southeast Bahamas. Peter's family carried a greater social cash than Frances's family. On paper, his grandfather, Samson Farquharson, built a strong construction company with his bare hands which morphed into a hardware and regional building empire. Meanwhile, Frances's parents, Fletcher and Paula Hepburn, took a back seat to nobody. They drummed into her every day. "Be proud of who you are." They meant it, and she believed it. Fletcher was a farmer who went out into the field every day. Paula operated a small guest house in the Cove. When Frances won a government scholarship to go to Nassau, they sent money as often as they could. She used the funds to build an impressive investment portfolio over the years, which she managed quietly through an irrevocable trust. Frances's and Peter's marriage settled into a rhythm of its own. He ran his father's construction company. She worked as a specialized social worker, her true vocation. Her undergraduate degree was in sociology, although she earned a postgraduate Master of Business Administration degree, with honors. She enjoyed helping women who felt trapped in relationships, who did not know where else to turn, sometimes facing violence, sometimes facing mental abuse, and she was good at it. Frances did not see how much the dysfunction that she helped other women to overcome mirrored her own life, until she saw, unexpectedly, at a family gathering at Peter's parents' house on a Sunday afternoon. The truth was revealed. It emerged uninvited, as it usually did, never to retreat into the darkness from whence it came, through an inopportune comment by Peter's sister, Teresa. Teresa never fully embraced Frances. She was polite, but she felt that Peter had made a mistake in marrying her. Teresa felt that Frances did not know her place, that she was far too well regarded within the family, that she needed constant recognition and affirmation, far beyond what was necessary. Teresa said to Peter casually in a stage whisper across the table, as if chiding him, "You need to take care of the children you've fathered over the years." Frances stopped spooning up the stew fish that she was taking up for her father-in-law, a special dish that she prepared for that occasion. Stephen Farquharson always loved Frances's stew fish. Her ladling spoon froze midway. Everything stopped, or appeared to stop. It was the type of calm that always set the stage for irreversible consequences. "What children are she talking about?" Frances asked Peter conversationally. Her question was balanced and quiet. It belied the deep rumbling like a volcano within the walls of her heart. She felt disbelief. Hurt would come later. Frances distinctly saw devastation creeping its way toward her, and she could not avoid it. Due to something she had not confronted before in her marriage to Peter, uncertainty. "Oops!" Teresa intoned with fake concern when she saw how Frances reacted. "I thought you knew." I didn't know that it was a secret. Those words poured more salt into an open wound. But Frances did not give Teresa the pleasure of seeing her unravel. She finished taking up the stew fish and placed it in front of her father-in-law, who could not make eye contact with her. He knew. Her mother-in-law, Naomi, looked at Frances with tear-filled eyes that spoke recognition. She did not say a word. She did not have to. Obviously, I am the only one who is unaware, Frances said with dawning recognition. She had always played the role of Francis the conciliator, of Francis the fixer, the one who always knew what to do when moments of crisis arose. But not this time. "Would you please answer the question?" she asked Peter, just as reasonably as she did the first time. "Honey," he tried to placate her, stammering, "this is neither the time nor the place." Francis had never seen him squirm like that before, which itself was reason for alarm. He acted like one facing an existential threat. Francis looked at him, really looked at him. She had never placed herself in position to question anything that he had done. She had always trusted him. She had always made room for him to be the best version of himself. Their marriage, as far as she was concerned, was a sacred space. "It is exactly the time and the place," she insisted. "Who are the children to whom your sister referred?" The more polite she became, the more dangerous she became. And Peter knew this. Francis watched the calculation in his eyes. He was trying his best to rearrange the facts that Teresa had so callously pointed out, but he could not. It was painful to watch. "They are Stanley and Denise," he said quietly. "Who is their mother?" she asked. "Ethel Cambridge," he said. With those words, Frances' world tilted. "Ethel Cambridge?" she asked, as if tasting the words in her mouth. "No, no, no," she said. As if by saying no, the facts would change. Thank you for listening to TGS Chronicles. Tune in next week for part 2 of Frances Smiled by Tyrone G. Sawyer.